In the era of COVID-19, we're all a little starved for human contact. The days of firm handshakes and warm hugs are on pause for now. However, after all of this, hopefully we'll appreciate every little touch a bit more. For some people, embracing others isn't just a way of showing compassion or love, but in fact a way to earn a living. They're called professional cuddlers, a therapeutic, non-sexual profession that thousands of Americans are certified in. You might be wondering, what exactly does a cuddlist do? How do you set boundaries if you work in this role? Christina Hepburn has the answers to all of these questions and more. She's a professional cuddler with the well-known company Cuddlist.
Professional cuddling is more than just cuddling. I mean, it's creating a space a safe container that allows for touch and intimate practices, co-regulating your nervous system, breath work, talk therapy. It's all packed into this title of professional cuddling.
Before the pandemic, Hepburn would typically see 3 to 4 clients a week. Each person signed a consent form, and then every session lasted an hour or two and would cost between $80 to $120. While it's work for Hepburn, the sessions are mutually beneficial in some respects.
I love that what we describe as a co-regulation of our nervous systems. And for me, it's really become about this fine-tuning of your nervous system. And the nervous system is what's alerting you to stress levels, right? When you're not getting enough sleep, when you're telling yourself you're under a lot of pressure for deadlines. I mean, all of this stuff, right, is affecting your nervous system and how you're experiencing the world, basically. When something hurts in your body, it's your nervous system telling you that. So when we have touch and we breathe together, it balances you. I used to go get massages really regularly myself, and then I discovered that when I was doing a lot of cuddle sessions or going to cuddle groups myself, having that contact was sort of melting the tension away in my body more than just a take exchange where I pay someone and I receive something. Whereas cuddling, there's sort of more of a mutual, balanced acknowledgement of each other.
Professional cuddling is relatively new. The niche hit the small business scene in 2016 and then continued to grow as it gained mainstream media attention about a year later. With this growing coverage, however, there were also many skeptics who questioned the non-sexual nature of the sessions and if they could lead down an inappropriate rabbit hole.
A big part of touch for me is actually a dialogue around the intention behind your touch. And there are lots of ways that we can heal each other through touch, which is nurturing and loving hands. I mean, there's ways of holding space for someone with your hands or even body, right, that don't involve this idea of what we term sexuality. And within that, we also practice dialogue of creating consent, of asking for what you want, practicing saying no, practicing receiving a no and what that feels like and how do you cope with it.
Hepburn points to one client in particular where she had to have a tough conversation and continuously work through certain behaviors.
I had a client once who had a lot of emotional trauma around relating to women, relating to what's allowed in touch, all this stuff. And I remember, the first session thinking, this is a lot. And I paused and I said, hey, it feels like you're taking when you touch me. And it actually isn't an enjoyable experience. And then that led us into a deeper conversation. And I've had that client for a year now, and we've had such amazing emotional breakthroughs in terms of how he's relating to his own body and his own relationship to women in our society. So it's actually been very rewarding to address those discomforts that most people are afraid of. But I find that the more we name it and the more we just talk openly without taboo or judgment, the much further we get in healing whatever is creating discomfort around that.
So how do you get out of those sometimes uncomfortable situations as a professional cuddler?
As cuddlists, we are trained to support you in those moments, which are, this is a non-sexual practice and you're coming to pay me for a session. So if you're looking for something else, don't come to me because you're spending money and I don't want you to be disappointed. Secondly, some people have fears of arousal. They say, well, how do I know I'm not going to have moments of arousal? And I say, that's okay. That's a normal healthy bodily reaction. It can be, right? If that were to happen, we just name it and we readjust and we say, okay, let's do something else that feels a little less charged.
Hepburn works with a range of people from all different walks of life. Anyone from veterans with PTSD to individuals dealing with divorce. Some of her clients are working through stress from work or loneliness, or simply enjoy feeling that loving embrace. While the profession is viewed as taboo by some, supporters say it's really a form of self-care.
Our culture doesn't allow for touch. I mean, if I really go into my personal opinion on it, I think it's designed to dehumanize you. I mean, I don't know, there's something about the need for workforce and to focus strictly on not feeling your body. People are encouraged to not feel their bodies, but that in fact can lead to illness when you don't pay attention to what's happening. And if you're holding your breath a lot, if you're carrying high levels of cortisol, right? Your cortisol being the stress. And I describe like cortisol closes the door, oxytocin opens the door. So when you cuddle, you release oxytocin.
Releasing oxytocin can help you feel happier. It's similar to when you exercise and endorphins rush through your body. In Hepburn's view, paying for cuddling shouldn't be seen as scandalous or attached to any kind of stigma because it offers many mental and physical benefits.
I get messages from people that say, gosh, I really wish I could try it, or I've never experienced touch like that. And I want us all to have permission to do that. And I know that in a way, what I'm doing and other cuddlists and other cuddlers are teaching people how to give themselves permission to do it. And giving people the tools to create a safe container to do it, because I think that's a big part of it, right? Is how do I ask for touch but not end up in a situation where I'm doing things I don't want to do? There are cuddle groups nationally, usually in the big cities, but it never hurts to go on the websites and see who's actually in your community doing it. There might actually be someone, because a lot of times we go, oh, they're, not in my town. And then sure enough, there's this one person who did the training and came to LA and then is supporting your community with that.
Looking ahead to post-pandemic life, Hepburn hopes to keep growing this community by hosting workshops on the power of cuddling.
Touch is actually our superpower as humans. I feel like there's all these Marvel movies coming out, superheroes, all this stuff, right? I found that with touch, my ability to feel you, see you, sense what's happening for you. If you carry tension or stress in certain areas in your bodies, I can interpret that. I can read it. I can feel it. So it actually increases my empathy the more I practice that. And when we have greater empathy, we're able to actually see what's happening in a bird's eye view in dynamics, and we're able to problem solve more than judge. So I just wanted to share that we actually all have it within us. And while I've become very practiced at it and my superhero ability is a strong muscle, I'm excited and inspired to know that anyone who wants to build that skill can, and anyone who knows that they have it and desire it from other people can ask for it.
Whether it's cuddling or just a warm hug, it will be comforting to once again feel an embrace without worry once this pandemic has passed. To find out more about this topic and our guest, Christina Hepburn, visit viewpointsradio.org. For more behind the scenes, check out Viewpoints Radio on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This segment was written and produced by Annie Krall and Amira Zaveri. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
Detecting the brain changes of Alzheimer's disease before symptoms appear can be done today only through expensive PET scans or spinal fluid tests. But researchers are homing in on a simple, inexpensive blood test that might spot changes up to 20 years before symptoms appear. Multiple studies presented at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference 2020 show that specific proteins are detectable in the blood as early as age 25 that correspond to the buildup of toxic tangles in the brain. Dr. Maria Carrillo is Chief Science Officer of the Alzheimer's Association.
These are early results, but they are encouraging. There is an urgent need for simple, inexpensive, and non-invasive diagnostic tools for Alzheimer's. An early blood test would allow people with Alzheimer's and those at risk to plan for the future, and it could speed drug development by identifying the right people for clinical trials.
Dr. Carrillo says the tests require further large-scale studies before they can be made widely available. Find out more at alz.org.
According to the FBI, one home burglary occurs every 26 seconds in the U.S., leaving many homeowners wondering how they can increase their safety and security. Experts recommend homeowners start by evaluating access points and strengthening door and window security. But many people still feel especially vulnerable to an intruder striking while they're at home and want to know how to protect themselves and their loved ones if this situation arises. One option for deterring home intruders is the pepper spray launcher home defense kit from Sabre, the leading pepper spray brand worldwide for more than 4 decades. Deploying projectiles filled with red pepper powder accurately from more than 60 feet away, the Sabre launcher effectively provides safety at a distance, which increases the opportunity to deter intruders and escape to safety. Designed for speed, accuracy, and distance, the Sabre launcher provides added peace of mind for homeowners. Find out more at saberred.com. That's SABRE red.com.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of MediaTrax Communications. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows. And find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints. Coming up next week.
It is a complete myth that you have to do it for any period of time. The test is living together and holding yourselves out as what used to be husband and wife.
What should constitute as a legal partnership? Then,
one of his most famous sayings was, if you can state a problem, you can solve it. That was sort of the mantra for his life.
How the invention of the Polaroid turned weeks into seconds. I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.